there, I'm Heather and this is Plant Fact Friday, and this week we're going to talk about apples. So did you know that October is National Apple Month? It's a great time of the year to go to an apple orchard, and if you've ever been bobbing for apples, then you know something that a lot of people don't know, that apples are one of only a handful of fruits that float. And this is because apples are about 25% air, which makes them less dense than water. And if you want to see what other fruits float, I invite you to go test that out. So apples are the fruit of a shrub or a tree in the genus Malus, which is in the Rosaceae or the rose family. And just like any fruit, they are a mature ovary. So it's the part of the flower that protects the seeds. And apples are kind of interesting because we can see, if we look at an apple, or if we look at my scientific diagram, that apples are inferior ovaries. That just means that the ovary sits underneath the point of attachment for the petals and the sepals. And the proof is on the apple. If you look at the bottom of an apple, you can see the remnants of the sepals and the petals right there. And you can notice how the ovary, would be underneath all of that. So that's why it's an inferior ovary. Another interesting thing about apples, the fruit, is that they're called a pome, which is kind of interesting because normally when you bite into a fruit, you're eating that fleshy ovary tissue. But when you bite into an apple, what you're eating is not actually the ovary, it's floral tissue. So if we go back to this diagram, the part when this fruit ripens, it gets really juicy and flavorful and full of all that good stuff, is not the ovary itself, it's this part that I've drawn in green that we call the floral cup. So this floral cup enlarges and gets really tasty, and that's the part that we're eating when we eat an apple or any other pome. Rose hips are another example. And the ovary is still there, of course. It's just the part that we don't necessarily always eat up here in the middle by the core. So when anyone plants an apple, they're normally not starting from seed. This is the same with any other agricultural product. When you start things from seed, you get a lot of variety, genetic variation from that input of multiple parents with that genetic information. So rather than starting from seed, apples are usually started with vegetative cuttings. So that creates literally a clone of an original plant. So this is great if you notice a variety that you really like and you want more of. You don't start it from seed, you take cuttings instead. And that's how we get things like Fuji and Gala, Honeycrisp, all those varieties that we know and love. And one of the most recognizable and most famous apple varieties ever has its start right here in Iowa. So back in 1870, there was a farmer who noticed an apple tree that had started to grow on his farm. And he didn't want it there, so he cut it down. But the next year, it grew back. And so he cut it down again, continued to grow back, and he decided he was just gonna live with it. And he was rewarded because the apples that this tree produced were delicious, and they were red with kind of golden streaks on it, and it was something really special. So he named it the Hawkeye, and he started taking it around, and it ended up winning competitions, and soon it was the most popular apple from coast to coast. And it was later rebranded not the Hawkeye, but the Red Delicious. Now, if you're surprised to hear that the Red Delicious apple was ever delicious, you are not alone. This apple has changed a lot in the over a century that it has been around. Genetic mutations, random mutations in this variety have led to things that farmers have selected for, like glossier, redder, thicker skin, more hardy, more shelf stable, which are great, but they've sacrificed things like flavor and texture. So today, it's still one of the most popular apple varieties, but not a lot of people's favorites. Now, as a bit of a side note, if you've been paying close attention and you plan to attend our Botanical Trivia Night, which is next Friday, the 9th, you're going to go in with a leg up because I've hidden an answer to one of our questions in this Plant Fact Friday video. So you might just have a little advantage. So thank you for tuning in. Again, we'll see you next week for our next Plant Fact Friday. Bye-bye.